Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show.
So, spoiler season, day one, we've seen some exciting things like a Praetor, Phyrexian Praetor, Urbrask.
Not sure why I started off this episode this way, but I felt like it, so I did. Anyways, check out that episode at some point, not just yet though. Also, check out my episode on Anilo the Painter to just see absolutely how broken this commander might be, but also don't check out this episode or this one on Halo Fountain, which not about, the game Halo or an actual fountain, but a card called Halo Fountain. And the question on this episode is, will this card get banned? And this episode has got me singing popular. You're gonna be popular. Okay, that was terrible, but yeah, any other Wicked fans out there? No, just me? Okay, anyways, Ziatora, the Incinerator, is going to be an incredibly popular commander. I mean, this thing very well might be the most popular commander of the set, but only time will tell. But what time won't tell is, well, if you should blame Eddie or not, because yes, you should. You should definitely blame Eddie. Blame Eddie in the comments below, because Eddie is helping me with spoiler season with great discussions on all these cards, and of course, if I make any mistakes, it's Eddie's fault, so blame Eddie. And now with that said, let's jump into it. So, Ziatora, the Incinerator, the Burninator, is a 6/6 demon dragon with flying that costs 3 black, red, green. It has, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Ziatora the Incinerator deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens. Yeah, the first thing that I thought of when I saw this commander is, hey, that's like a very, 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 very fair version of Korvold, because Korvold is, really not all that fair. Anyways, like Korvold, obviously this is a Jund dragon that can make you treasures. However, there is a limitation on that this is a, once per end step trigger, essentially. Now, yes, there are ways to double that up, but still, yes, you basically are taking a creature that you have, flinging it at any target, based on its power, dishing out a lot of damage in that way, and yes, here's your reward for doing so, you get 3 treasures. So you're getting a lot of value out of sacrificing a creature, utilizing its power fully by probably just smashing it into an opponent's face, which is a lot of fun. And then, of course, you get paid to do so in treasures, and 3 is actually a good amount of treasures. When I read that, I was like, wait, 3? 3 treasures? That's pretty good. I mean, that's a lot of value out of this commander. Now, obviously, you need to get to the end step, and you need to have a creature on the board to actually, utilize this, but still, I mean, there's a lot of potential for this commander. I can see a lot of players out there being incredibly excited about making treasures, and more importantly, throwing things at their opponent's faces. Or, okay, again, any target. You can pick any target, but the most fun way to do this is your opponent's face, right? So a Jund kind of power matters, aristocrat in a way, sacrifice synergy type of deck. Yeah, I think these are all kind of elements for a popular commander, especially when one is a demon dragon, which I'm not sure if we've had a demon dragon up until this point. Please let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, there's a lot of potential for this Jund commander. And, okay, it might not be as popular as Korvold. That thing is incredibly popular, but this one has a great chance, again, in my opinion, of being the most popular commander out of this set. And also, like I mentioned on a few other episodes, I'm going to be mentioning some cards that can work very well with this commander, and I'm going to be including a list of those cards, a link in the description, because players have been asking for that, just, in case you want to go out and get some of those cards sooner rather than later, because when a popular commander, or a commander that's going to be popular, is spoiled, well, some cards tend to increase in demand quite a bit quite quickly. So just to make things easier, yeah, make sure you check out that link. Malfagor. Okay, Malfagor is a demon dragon. I just remembered. We got there. Okay. But now, let's talk about those cards that you might want to consider if you want to build around this new demon dragon, which I'm sure some players are going to call Trogdor the Burninator instead of Ziatora the Incinerator. Anyways, let's go. Trogdor! Okay, I promise I'll stop. Anyways. Yeah, so I might have had too much coffee, but too much power is never a bad thing, and you can utilize cards that can give you a ton of power to then fling at your opponent's faces or wherever else with cards like Malignance, Beast of Burden, and Stag Beetle. Malignance has power and toughness each equal to half the highest life total among your opponents, rounded up, and of course damage that would be dealt by Malignance can't be prevented. This is a creature that literally only costs 5 mana, and it can easily, again, let's just say, beginning of the game of Commander, right, everyone's life total is 40. Let's say you've got an opponent with life total 40 and they're the highest. Cool. This thing is a 20/20 for 5 mana. And of course, there are going to be times where you might be playing against a life gain deck, or a deck that just can gain life in various ways, and yeah, this can be even larger, and there are definitely times where it can be large enough to take out one of your opponents, because it's going to have more power than their life total, and of course, with this commander, you just say, oh, I get to my end step. Okay, I'm just going to chuck this at your face, and make 3 treasures, and you're gone. And of course, even a simple card like Beast of Burden can be incredibly impactful in this deck. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures in play. So again, the more and more creatures that are in play, the longer this game goes, and the more the boards get built out, the larger this gets, and the more damage you can be able to dish out by just chucking it at an opponent's face. And of course, if you're playing against, say, a token strategy or a go-wide strategy, even better. This thing can get absolutely massive. So yeah, I even want to bring up a card like Stag Beetle, which is kind of like a Beast of Burden. When it comes into play, it comes into play with X+1 counters on it, or X number of other creatures in play. So it's kind of like a Beast of Burden, but with a set power and toughness, because obviously Beast of Burden can go up or down. But yeah, this giant beetle, you just chuck it at someone else, and maybe you've got other ways to kind of save up those counters, maybe like an Ozolith or something like that, where you can just distribute those counters too. So maybe that's a synergy you want to take advantage of as well. But yeah, overall, I really enjoy when a commander can utilize some kind of lesser played or lesser known cards like Stag Beetle to a very effective amount. Another card that this card can work amazingly with, though, is Bone Horde. Now, Bone Horde is an equipment, but it does have living weapons, so when it comes into play, you make a 0/0 germ, and this attaches to it. And then, you're probably going to want to chuck that germ at someone with your commander, because the equipped creature, which at that time is that germ, gets +X/+X or X the number of creature cards in all graveyards. Again, obviously, you're going to be adding to that graveyard count, once you get to your end step, sacrificing creatures to chuck them at players. But yeah, your opponents might be adding to that count as well. And then you just chuck this giant germ at someone. And then next turn, for just 2 mana, you attach this to another creature to pump them by that amount. And then you chuck that giant creature that is pumped even further at an opponent's face. Next up, though, a card that you might not need to pump at all to take out an opponent, though, is Lord of Extinction. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in all graveyards. Yes, keep in mind, this says all graveyards, and it doesn't specify a type of card like Bone Horde does, where it only counts creature cards. This is just like, hey, what's the total number of cards in all graveyards? Okay, cool. Is that more than someone's life total? Awesome, let's sacrifice this, make 3 treasures, and chuck it at an opponent's face. But perhaps my personal favorite interaction with this commander is something like Wall of Blood, which has pay 1 life while blood gets ++1 until end of turn. So pump this to your heart's content. I mean, literally, you're going to be losing life when you do this, but keep pumping it, make it massive, and then chuck it at an opponent's face. If you've got more life than an opponent, you could take them out with this. It might be a high-risk, high-reward play. That sounds like a lot of fun. And of course, if that's the last opponent, and you've got ways to protect this interaction, it can be a great, fantastic way to finish them off. Next up, you also can utilize some lower-to-the-ground creatures that can increase their power in different ways, like Tuya Bearclaw and Arnie Broken Brow. Tuya Bearclaw has, when it attacks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control. So this creature's basically, hey, okay, what's your biggest creature out there? Okay, Malignance is a 20/20. Great, I'll do you one better. I'm going to attack, be a 22/22, and then at the end of the turn, just chuck me at an opponent for that much damage. Now, obviously, you still get to keep Malignance around then for next turn to chuck at an opponent, too. And in a somewhat similar way, there's Arnie Broken Brow, which is a 3/3 with haste, and it has pay 1. You may change Arnie Broken Brow's base power to 1 plus the greatest power among other creatures you control until end of turn. Now, Arnie does have to survive combat in order to be useful in this way, but yeah, there are obviously ways to get Arnie through, or ways to protect it in combat, but if you do get to your end step, again, you're basically saying, hey, whatever my greatest power creature was, I am chucking +1 at an opponent. Or, again, I should say any target every time I say this, but come on, at an opponent's what you're gonna do. And of course, we can double up the fun with something like Stalking Vengence. It says, whenever another creature you control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player. So now, not only are you utilizing that massive creature that you are flinging at an opponent with your commander, but when that creature dies, you also say, okay, what was that creature's power again? Oh yeah, let's just take that power and then dish that damage out to either, that same player to take them out pretty much most likely, or another player to share the fun. Yeah, with this in play, you can have some really massive plays, and you definitely have the potential to take out multiple players at a time. And speaking of massive plays, of course we can also include cards that double up power with cards like Unleash Fury, Choose Your Weapon, or Natural Growth. So again, when we have that 2020 Malignance or Beast of Burden or whatever, now we say, okay, now we're up to 40. And again, this can be unexpected at instant speed right before we get to our end step, and then we decide to sacrifice that creature and take out an opponent, again, for just, 2 mana? Okay, well, 2 mana in addition to having the creature, but you know what I mean. Or how about 3 mana with Choose Your Weapon, which also has, another mode in case you want to take out a flyer. It can deal 5 damage to a creature with flying, but most likely, let's just save it to double up that creature's power and toughness, just to get rid of them. And of course, and I really wish this card was more budget friendly, please reprint it, Wizards. Unnatural Growth. At the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. Yeah, first up, this makes your commander hit for 12 damage? So that just takes 2 shots to take out an opponent. And of course, on top of that, you are going to get to utilize double the power of any creature that you're flinging at an opponent, on top of also, utilizing their power in combat. And speaking of fun 5-mana enchantments, let's talk about Gratuitous Violence, which says if a creature you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So again, this doubles up not only the amount of damage that you're dishing out with your creatures in combat, but also when your commander decides to fling something at an opponent, double the damage. And yeah, again, there's plenty of just massive plays that you can have, and you can easily take out opponents when you are set up properly. And one card that pretty much just really isn't even fair with this commander is Fiery Emancipation, which, as I mentioned on other episodes, is really expensive. I think it's around $20 or so at this point. Wizards, please reprint it. Thank you. Regardless, it says if a source you control deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent or player instead. So again, even just consider your commander in combat now just dishes out, 18 damage? And if you've got any way to pump your commander at all, even just by 1, that's going to be 21 damage. So yeah, 1 shot, commander KO. And of course, more importantly, that's triple the fling damage. So again, let's say your Malignance is 2020 or your Beast of Burden is 2020. Have fun dishing out 60 damage, and good luck to an opponent trying to survive that. Or, you actually just need to dish out 10 damage if you utilize this lovely thing called Infect with cards like Grafted Exoskeleton, Triumph of the Hordes, and Tainted Strike. Grafted Exoskeleton says equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has Infect, which means that it's going to deal damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters and to players in the form of poison counters. And again, if a player has 10 poison counters, they lose the game. So yes, just equip your lovely Demon Dragon with this lovely Grafted Exoskeleton and then chuck any 10 power creature at an opponent, and that opponent is gone. And you get paid for that, again, in 3 treasure, which is just lovely. Or, of course, with all these giant creatures, you can just probably win with Triumph of the Hordes, which says until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain Trample and Infect. So, yeah, swing through, get some damage to a Trample, and knock out your opponents with Infect. And if anyone survives, well, good for them, but also unfortunate for them because, again, you're probably going to go to your end step, sack 1 creature that's got power 10, and just chuck it at them, and then they're gone. Which, of course, makes Tainted Strike a fantastic surprise for your opponents. Again, the other ones you can kind of see coming with Grafted Exoskeleton and Triumph of the Hordes, but Tainted Strike is an instant that says target creature gets +1/+0 and gains Infect until end of turn. So yeah, one way to take out an opponent is if they, just don't block one of your massive creatures that has at least 10 power, and you're like, okay, well, it's getting through. So, Tainted Strike, Infect damage, you're gone. Or again, end step, Tainted Strike on my commander, okay, sack a creature, deals damage to you. Yep, you're gone. Isn't Infect a lovely mechanic? And of course, since this commander makes treasures, let's talk about some cards that can interact well with treasures with Okay, and I need to obviously specify, Doubling Season is like a $75 card or something, but yeah, it works very well with treasures. It says if an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. So yeah, now instead of just getting 3 treasures, that's still a lot. Now you get 6 treasures, just for, flinging something at an opponent's face, which is already fun. You're getting paid even more now. And of course, there's also Goldspan Dragon, and yeah, if you're in a Dragon Tribal deck, you're probably going to have both these in the deck anyways. We'll get to that here in a bit. Regardless, it says, when it attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token, and on top of that treasure you control have tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana of any one color. So now those 3 treasures that you're getting still effectively give you 6 mana in total. And of course, another card to consider that interacts well with treasures, which I actually mentioned on my previous episode, Revel in Riches. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. And of course, it also makes you treasures when your opponent's creatures die. Regardless, yeah, you're going to be making treasures very quickly with this commander, at 3 at a time essentially. And again, if you've got ways to double that up or to double up the actual trigger, yes, you can make them even quicker and get to that 10 if you really want to win in that way. But come on, with this kind of a deck, you want to win by smacking your opponents in the face by flinging creatures at them, right? That being said, now that we've talked about cards that work very well in a Burninator deck, and yes, I'm calling it that, even though I think I've previously called a different commander Burninator. Regardless, anyways, let's talk about some commanders that might want this brand new card in the 99 of their decks. And of course, I've already mentioned Corvold in this episode, so how about Corvold? Corvold really likes it when you sacrifice permanents because when you do so, you get a counter on Corvold and you draw a card. So cool, let's have a dragon that likes to sacrifice things, chuck things at players, including potentially Corvold, which can get massive obviously, and make you treasures, which when you sacrifice them, you get Corvold bigger and draw cards. So yeah, this Jund commander, which is very popular, might want this other new Jund commander, which is going to be very popular, again in my opinion. Next up, how about yet another commander that can get massive in absolutely no time with Kresh the Bloodbraided. Kresh has, whenever another creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may put X+1 counters on Kresh the Bloodbraided, where X is that creature's power. So you just get Kresh absolutely massive by sacrificing a lot of creatures or by destroying a lot of creatures. Yeah, Kresh can get really big really quickly, and then you say, well, you know what, Kresh? You're quite large. Let's just chuck you at an opponent's face and get paid to do so. And speaking of which, even a commander like Thantis the Warweaver might want to consider this one as well, because Thantis can get absolutely massive as well. Thantis has all creatures attack each combat if able, and whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, you get a +1 counter on Thantis the Warweaver. So, if players decide to attack you, they're going to have to pay the price because you're going to make this spider absolutely massive, and then you get to chuck it at their face. And of course, with a deck like this, when it is a one-on-one, that opponent is forced to attack you specifically. And, if you've got a Turbo Fog build with this commander like I do, you can just blank those attacks, make Thantis massive, and then take out that last player very easily. But of course, another kind of deck that I have to bring up is a Dragon Tribal deck, because guess what? This is a dragon. Well, it's a demon dragon, but it is a dragon, so it's going to get that discount from the Dragon, which can be great. The Dragon says as long as it's in the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. On top of that is a 10/10 flyer, so yeah, chucking this at an opponent is pretty funny. It also says whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards, then you may put a permanent card from your hand on the battlefield. So yeah, you can cheat in other giant dragons as well to chuck at your opponents for treasures, which is just lovely. And speaking of the Dragon, I've got to talk about Scion of the Dragon, which has pay 2, search your library for a dragon permanent card and put in your graveyard. If you do, Scion of the Dragon comes a copy of that card till end of turn, then shuffle your library. This card can actually be a great surprise finisher in a way for this kind of a commander. Maybe you've already got another massive dragon in play again. Then you just say, okay, I'm going to pay the 2. Go get, the Burninator, and then on the end step say, okay, Burninator, let's fling something for some treasures. And yeah, hit someone in the face. But yeah, as you can see, I'm really excited about this card. I think a lot of players are going to be very excited about it as well, and I think it's going to be a very popular commander. So yeah, Ziatora the Incinerator, or Trogdor the Burninator, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be, in my opinion, one of the most popular commanders, if not the most popular commanders from the set. I mean, again, this is day 1 of spoiler season, although technically we did have some earlier spoilers last week. But this is basically day 1 of spoiler season. We have definitely not seen all the commanders out there, so this is far too early to call. but I think this is going to be a very popular commander. I mean, a lot of the factors are there. I mean, players just love chucking giant creatures at people, and they also just love making treasures. So yeah, I think that there is something going on here. That being said, of course, there are even more exciting spoilers to cover. I don't know if I'm going to get to any more of them tonight. I've already had too many cups of coffee, as you can tell. And yeah, I need to save some energy for tomorrow and the other days in spoiler season. So most likely, unless something absolutely massive comes out tonight, which I'm not expecting it, catch me tomorrow for even more exciting spoilers. And if you haven't seen the other spoiler episodes from today, make sure you check out those as well. And also, while you're at it, do yourself a favor and listen to the Wicked soundtrack. It's awesome. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.